The bus card problem. Grace is a nurse. She works at a small clinic in the city. Every morning, she takes the bus to work. Grace likes her job. She helps people. She talks to patients. She gives medicine. She checks names, times, and papers. But Grace does not like being late. On Tuesday morning, Grace wakes up early. She eats toast. She drinks tea. She puts on her blue nurse uniform. She looks in the mirror. "Good," she says. "Today will be easy." Then her phone rings. It is her brother, Marcus. "Good morning," Marcus says. "Good morning," Grace says. "I am leaving soon." "Can I ask you one quick question?" Marcus asks. Grace looks at the clock. "One quick question," she says. Marcus says, "Where's Mom's soup pot?" Grace stops. "Her soup pot?" "Yes," Marcus says. "The big silver one." "Why do you need Mom's soup pot at 7 in the morning?" "I want to make soup." Grace closes her eyes. "Marcus, you do not make soup." "I can learn." Grace looks at the clock again. "I have to go," she says. "The soup pot is under the sink." "Thank you," Marcus says. Grace ends the call. She takes her bag and runs out the door. The bus stop is near her apartment. She walks quickly. The morning is busy. People are going to work. Cars are moving slowly. A dog is barking from a balcony. Grace reaches the bus stop at 7:40. There are 3 people waiting. An old man is reading a newspaper. A woman is holding a baby. A little boy is eating a banana. Grace stands near the sign. She looks down the street. The bus is coming. "Good," she says. "I am on time." The bus stops. The door is open. The old man gets on first. Beep. The woman gets on with the baby. Beep. The little boy gets on. Beep. Grace gets on and taps her bus card. Beep, beep, beep. A red light flashes. Grace freezes. The bus driver looks at her. "Please tap again," he says. Grace taps the card again. Beep, beep, beep. The red light flashes again. The driver looks at the screen. "No money on the card," he says. Grace looks at the card. "No money?" The driver nods. "No money." Grace feels her face become hot. The people behind her are waiting. Grace opens her bag. "I have money," she says. "1 second." She looks in her wallet. There is no cash. She checks another pocket. No cash. She checks a small zipper. 1 old receipt. 1 mint. No cash. Grace smiles nervously. "I usually have cash," she says. The bus driver waits. The old man looks over his newspaper. The little boy looks at Grace. He holds up his banana. "You can have this," he says. Grace smiles. "Thank you, but I do not think the bus takes bananas." The little boy looks at the driver. "Do you take bananas?" he asks. The driver says, "Not today." The people on the bus laugh. Grace steps to the side. "I can pay with my phone," she says. She takes out her phone. The screen is black. Grace presses the button. Nothing happens. She presses it again. Nothing. "Oh no," she says. "My phone is dead." The old man folds his newspaper. "This is a serious morning," he says. Grace nods. "Yes, very serious." The bus driver says, "Do you have another card?" Grace checks her bag again. She finds a coffee shop card. She finds a clinic ID card. She finds a library card. She finds a small card from a pizza shop. The little boy points at the pizza card. "That one looks good," he says. Grace laughs. "It is good for pizza, not for the bus." The driver smiles. "Please step off for a moment," he says. "I must keep moving." Grace steps off the bus. The doors close. the bus drives away. Grace stands at the bus stop with her empty card, dead phone, and no cash. She looks at the sky. "Today will be easy," she says. That was not true. The little boy waves from the bus window. He holds up the banana again. Grace waves back. Then she looks at her watch. It is 7:48. She must be at the clinic by 8:30. "I still have time," she says. There is a small convenience store near the bus stop. Grace walks to the store. A worker is putting bread on a shelf. "Good morning," he says. "Good morning," Grace says. "Can I add money to my bus card here?" "Yes," the worker says. Grace smiles. Good. She takes out her wallet. Then she remembers. No cash. "Can I pay with a bank card?" she asks. "Yes," the worker says. Grace takes out her bank card. The worker puts the bus card on the machine. $10? He asks. "Yes, please." Grace puts her bank card into the card reader. The machine makes a sound. Beep. Then the screen says, "Please try again." Grace tries again. Beep. "Please try again." The worker looks at the machine. "That is strange," he says. Grace says, "Everything is strange today." The worker tries a different card reader. Beep. This time it works. Grace smiles. Wonderful. The worker adds money to the bus card. Grace thanks him and hurries back to the bus stop. Another bus is coming. Grace stands ready. "I am prepared now," she says. The bus stops. The doors open. Grace steps on. She taps the card. Beep. Green light. Grace smiles. Yes. The driver says, "Good morning." Grace looks at him. It is the same driver. The same bus driver. Grace blinks. "How are you here?" she asks. The driver smiles. "I went around the block." Grace looks inside the bus. The old man is still there. The woman with the baby is still there. The little boy is still there. The little boy holds up the banana. "You came back," he says. Grace starts laughing. "Yes," she says, "and I brought money." The people on the bus clap. Grace covers her face. "Oh no," she says. "Please do not clap." The old man says, "This is better than my newspaper." Grace walks down the bus aisle. There is one empty seat. She sits down. The little boy sits across from her. He still has the banana. "Do nurses fix phones?" he asks. Grace smiles. "Sometimes we help people. We do not fix phones." "Do nurses fix bus cards?" "No." "Do nurses take bananas?" Grace laughs. "Sometimes." The little boy holds out the banana. Grace shakes her head. "Thank you. You keep it." The bus moves through the city. Grace feels better now. Then her phone suddenly turns on. The screen lights up. Grace stares at it. "What?" she says. Her phone has 1% battery. A message appears. It is from Marcus. The soup pot is not under the sink. Grace looks at the message. Then another message appears. "I found it in the oven." Grace closes her eyes. The old man looks at her. "More trouble?" he asks. Grace says, "My brother is making soup." The old man nods seriously. "That can be dangerous." Grace laughs. At 8:20, the bus stops near the clinic. Grace stands up. The bus driver says, "Have a good day, Nurse Grace." Grace looks surprised. "How do you know my name?" The little boy points to her ID card. "It says Grace," he says. Grace looks down. Her clinic ID is hanging from her uniform. The passengers smile. Grace says, "Goodbye, everyone." The old man says, "Good luck with your brother's soup." The little boy says, "Good luck with your phone." The bus driver says, "Good luck with your card." Grace laughs. "Thank you. I need a lot of luck today." She gets off the bus and walks to the clinic. Her coworker Nina is at the front desk. "You are early," Nina says. Grace looks at the clock. It is 8:25. Grace smiles. "Yes, I had a bus card emergency, but I survived." Nina looks confused. "A bus card emergency?" Grace takes out her bus card. She holds it up like a prize. "Yes," she says. "This little card had a very big morning." Nina laughs. Grace puts the card carefully into her bag. Then she takes out a charger for her phone. She plugs in the phone. She sits down for 1 quiet minute. Then her phone rings. It is Marcus. Grace answers. "Is the soup okay?" she asks. Marcus is quiet. Then he says, "How do you turn off smoke?" Grace stands up. Nina looks at her. Grace says, "Now we have a soup emergency." Nina points to the door. "Go," she says, "but take your bus card." Grace takes her bus card. She also takes some cash from her drawer. Then she stops and looks at her card. "You and I," she says, "are not making another scene today." The card says nothing. That is good. Grace walks out of the clinic. She is not calm, but she is ready. Have you ever had a chaotic morning before work? Tell us your story in the comments. Begin your sentence with, "Once, on the way to work, I..."